Berlin, 1942. A room filled with Nazi officials. No screaming, no chows, just paperwork, spreadsheets, logistics. They're planning the murder of millions, like it's a business meeting. How does a human being sit at a desk and calculate the most efficient way to kill children? This isn't a story about evil for evil's sake. It's darker than that, because what drove Hitler's extermination machine wasn't just hatred. It was a twisted economic equation, a demographic crisis he helped create, and a solution so monstrous it defies comprehension. This is the dark reason behind Hitler's extermination plans. To understand the Holocaust, we need to rewind, not to 1939, not even in 1933, but to 1918. Germany loses World War I. The Treaty of Versailles strips away territory, military power, and pride. But worse, it imposes crushing reparations, 132 billion gold marks. That's roughly $442 billion in today's money. The German economy collapses. Hyperinflation hits. By 1923, a loaf of bread costs 200 billion marks. People burn money for warmth because it's cheaper than buying firewood. Then comes the Great Depression. Unemployment soars to 30%. 6 million Germans are jobless. Families starve. The Weimar Republic is drowning. Enter Adolf Hitler. He promises jobs, stability, revenge, and he delivers, initially. By 1936, unemployment drops dramatically. Infrastructure booms. The Autobahn. Rearmament. Germany is working again. But here's the problem. Hitler's economic miracle is a Ponzi scheme. It's built on borrowed time, stolen wealth, and a ticking demographic bomb. Hitler's economic plan has a fatal flaw: sustainability. Think of Nazi Germany as a house on fire that keeps adding floors. Every year, more weapons, more soldiers, more expansion. Where does the money come from? First, theft. Jews are stripped of businesses, homes, bank accounts. The Aryanization program transfers Jewish wealth, estimated at $14 billion, into state coffers. Second, conquest. Austria, Czechoslovakia, Poland. Each invasion brings plunder, gold, resources, labor. But third, and this is where it gets sinister, there's a demographic calculation. By 1939, Germany's social systems are straining. Pensions, healthcare, food distribution. Hitler's regime has promised prosperity, but the economy is hemorrhaging. War production demands resources, but so do civilians. And then there's occupied Poland. Suddenly, Germany controls territories with millions of people, Poles, Jews, Roma, who need food, housing, medical care. In Nazi logic, this becomes an accounting problem. They literally calculate, what's cheaper, feeding millions of people in ghettos or eliminating them? This is where ideology meets economics. Hitler's racial ideology provides moral justification, but the engine driving extermination is cold arithmetic. In 1941, Heinrich Himmler commissioned studies on the costs of maintaining ghettos versus liquidation. The SS produces spreadsheets comparing ration expenses to the efficiency of mass murder. The Wannsee Conference in January 1942 formalizes this. 15 Nazi officials spend 90 minutes discussing the final solution: the systematic murder of 11 million European Jews. It's presented as logistical planning, train schedules, gas chamber capacity, body disposal rates. They're optimizing genocide. By mid-1942, the extermination machine is running at full capacity. Auschwitz-Birkenau becomes an industrial death facility. For gas chambers, crematoriums operating 24 hours. At peak efficiency, they murder 6,000 people per day. But the crisis isn't just moral, it's operational. Germany is now fighting a two-front war. The Eastern Front is a meat grinder. Soviet resistance is fiercer than expected. German casualties mount. Supply lines stretch thin. And here's the paradox. The resources used for genocide, trains, fuel, personnel, are desperately needed for the war effort. In 1944, as the Allies close in, The German military is begging for transportation. Yet trains keep rolling to Auschwitz. Even as Germany faces defeat, the extermination program continues. Sometimes accelerates. Why? Because by this point, the Holocaust has its own momentum. It's not just policy, it's infrastructure, jobs. Entire bureaucracies exist to process genocide. Guards, administrators, engineers. Stopping would mean admitting it was pointless. Admitting the crime. So it continues, even when it's strategically irrational, even when it hastens Germany's collapse. The killing doesn't stop until the camps are physically liberated. Auschwitz, January 27, 1945. Bergen-Belsen, April 15. Dachau, April 29. By then, 6 million Jews are dead, along with millions of others, Romani, disabled people, political prisoners, Soviet POWs, LGBTQ individuals. The dark equation Hitler started has consumed everything. The aftermath of the Holocaust reshaped the world. First, international law. The Nuremberg trials established precedents. Crimes against humanity. Genocide. The concept that following orders is not a defense. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights follows in 1948. Second, the founding of Israel. In 1947, the UN partitions Palestine. In 1948, Israel declares independence. The Holocaust becomes central to the justification, a homeland, so this can never happen again. Third, collective trauma. Survivors carry psychological scars for life. Entire communities, cultures, languages, Yiddish, Ladino, are nearly erased. Generational trauma persists. Studies show effects passing to children and grandchildren of survivors. But fourth, and this is crucial, the economic logic behind genocide didn't die in 1945. Throughout history, we see echoes. The Cambodian genocide under Pol Pot, eliminating unproductive urban populations. The Rwandan genocide, scarce resources and ethnic scapegoating. Ethnic cleansing in Bosnia, removing populations to claim territory. Even today, economists study how resource scarcity and economic crisis correlate with mass violence. When governments face economic collapse, dehumanizing others becomes a tempting distraction. Blama immigrants, minorities, political opponents. The Holocaust wasn't an aberration. It was an extreme manifestation of human capacity to rationalize atrocity through distorted logic. Here's the unsettling truth. The bureaucrats who planned the Holocaust weren't monsters in the fairy tale sense. They were educated professionals, lawyers, doctors, economists. They went home to families, listened to music, and then returned to optimize murder. Hannah Arendt called it the banality of evil. Ordinary people committing extraordinary horror, not through sadism, but through detachment, obedience, and twisted rationality. That's what makes it so terrifying, because it means it could happen again, anywhere, when normal people stop seeing other humans as human. So what's the lesson? Vigilance, refusing to dehumanize, questioning authority when it demands we treat people as statistics rather than souls. The Holocaust didn't start with gas chambers. It started with rhetoric, propaganda, small legal exclusions, gradual normalization of hatred. It started when enough people looked at a spreadsheet and saw numbers instead of names, categories instead of children. The dark reason behind Hitler's extermination plans wasn't supernatural evil. It was human, terrifyingly human, logic twisted in service of ideology. Which means the only defense is remembering, constantly, that behind every statistic is a person, a life, a world. Never again isn't a promise. It's a choice, one we make every day. What do you think? Could something like this happen in the modern world? Or are we too advanced, too enlightened? Let me know in the comments.